Good morning, lovely people. Welcome back to another video. My name is Tasha. I am a full-time artist based in Denver, Colorado, and today's video is going to be another The Artist's Way update. But it's going to be a sit down and yap style video, okay, while I work on this Sophie scarf. I am currently chest deep in knit gift marathon because the holidays are right around the corner. The shipping deadline for me to send this stuff back to my family and friends on the East Coast is in just a few days. So I'm going to need to multitask my way through this one. I hope you don't mind. Feel free to do the same if you have a task or if your task is rest. Let me join you, okay? Grab a beverage, grab some water, and we're going to get into where I've been, first of all, okay? First and foremost, what has happened? Because I definitely have missed some Sunday updates, right? Okay. Well, November is what happened. The month of November was so low-key chaotic, honestly high-key chaotic. It was a lot for me to even keep up with most of the time. And oh, not my book trying to fall. And there was just a lot of travel going on. I tried my best at the beginning of the month to stick with the program and do it all, right? And that first trip was literally on November 1st, and I went to Chattanooga, Tennessee for a climbing festival, and I did all right with sticking to doing my morning pages and all the other things that go along with this, exercising, eating right, the artist date, which the trip itself was kind of one big artist date for me, but I was able to get through it, but it did feel a little bit forced and awkward, if I'm being for real. But I kept reminding myself that, like, this is a commitment that I made. The book literally has you sign a little contract at the beginning, so I'm like, okay, I made this commitment to myself. I'm gonna show up for myself despite the fact that I have this other thing I'm also showing up for at the same time. I really was not the biggest fan of that. So around coming up to my next trip, which was to Las Vegas, that trip had such early geek call times, and it was a week long, and I was getting up at 4 a.m. to start the day during this work trip, and that was brutal. So literally after that first day, I was like, yeah, nah, I'm gonna have to like press pause on this entire program because I'm not doing myself any service, and I'm not doing the program any service, not really committing to it, like, obviously. And so while I was on that work trip, there was just no way that I could commit to doing the morning pages because I wasn't getting up even earlier than that. Like, that was gonna put the hired work that I was doing in jeopardy. If I'm extra tired, looking crazy, like, not doing it. And I also like was not finding the time to sit and like do any of the additional writing and the additional tasks, and I was just like, I don't want to force this, and it's not working. Like, it's just not. So I put it on pause, and that was that. And all of a sudden 3 to 4 weeks had went by. Okay, because shortly after I got home from Vegas, I only had maybe like 2 days, and then I was off to the East Coast for 2.5 weeks to visit family. And I already knew that. I'm like, yo, I know I'm not fitting to tap into this while I'm out here. Like, it's just not realistic. It just wasn't. And there truly wasn't any time. Like, and I brought the stuff with me. I was like, you know, if for somehow I find time to like commit to this, I'll do it, but I'm not going to force it, and I'm not going to only be halfway into it. So, yeah, didn't get anything done until kind of the last half week that I was in Virginia for like kind of the tail end of the holiday, and I'm at my in-laws. And that week we traveled back home on a Wednesday. So I tapped back in and started where I left off, which was chapter 7, while I was still in Virginia. And those last few days were a lot more low key, a lot more quiet than the previous week where it was Thanksgiving or whatever. So yeah, it felt good to like get it back going. And I was also like really itching for, I'm about to say my life back, but like that sounds so dramatic, but like my routine, my normalcy, like I was kind of itching to get back to that. So I decided to pick the book back up and reread chapter 7 and start back from there. And so chapter 7 was about like refinding a sense of connection. And what the part that stuck out to me the most was the section on perfectionism. And I think that I low-key felt a little bit triggered by the text, because I am a recovering perfectionist, and I work really hard to not let that mentality cripple me on a regular basis, okay? If you know, you know. I learned the hard way when it comes to perfectionism and how toxic it can be on your life. And I've realized that letting go is really the safest thing that I can do for my mental health and just my overall well-being in a lot of circumstances. And over my, you know, short adulthood, because I'm only, you know, barely 30, I have learned that perfectionism is really just a mask for hyper control. I am very aware that I am a controlling person, okay? It's hereditary for me, okay? And it's really hard to let go. And it's so funny because I was told to do so in the very like small stint in therapy that I had like right before the pandemic. I had went to a therapist for like just a few months just to like talk through things, you know, you don't need a reason, just go. And in that little bit of time right before lockdown, those couple months that I went, literally the one thing I took away from it is that I need to let go more. And that sounds so obvious, and it sounded really like crazy to me and obvious at the when she told me it too, but I was just like, wait, what? Because in my head, like letting go of control and like wanting everything to be a certain way, my certain way, truly did not feel like an option. I was just like, you're nuts. Why would I do that? Why would I do that when I can make things better? Why would I do that if I can, you know, assure that I'm going to like the result of X, Y, and Z, whatever it is, the meal, the situation, the experience. Yeah, and literally we laughed because I truly was flabbergasted. I was just like, huh? Like, that's not an option for me. But it's so crazy how much my life improved, my relationships improved when I took that very simple advice. And I believe that it also allowed me to be more creative, because my initial degree field is in scientific and medical illustration. And if that doesn't give you perfectionist tendencies, I don't know what will. That really like fed the beast for me, and it killed my creativity. Like when I graduated, I felt so not creative. Like I felt like an artist. I was like, I definitely know how to make art. Like I can make some hyper realistic, pick it up off the page type art, but I can't make anything else other than that. Like that's really what I felt like. And I had to release that creative perfectionism to find my like inner artist again, my inner like playfulness again. So I know firsthand how perfectionism can play in the role of like creative block in that way. And I felt very, like I said, triggered, but also like affirmed by that section in chapter 7. And I actually want to, I'm gonna read you a little section. This section, it says, to the perfectionist, there's always room for improvement. The perfectionist calls this humility. In reality, it is egotism. It is pride that makes us want to write a perfect script, paint a perfect painting, perform a perfect audition monologue. Perfectionism is not a quest for the best. It is a pursuit of the worst in ourselves. The part that tells us that nothing we do will ever be good enough, that we should try again. No, we should not. Okay, that's literally what she says. No, we should not. She then goes on to say that a normal part of creativity is letting go. And for all the reasons that I just stated, like I really do believe that that is so true. And that's really what I took away from chapter 7. Chapter 8 was all about recovering a sense of strength, and it couldn't have come at a worse week, to be honest, because I could not feel further away from strong right now, especially in my creative life and my career. But I was open to learning and open to absorbing what she had to say. And I realized that a reoccurring theme between chapter 7 and 8 is this theme of taking action, taking that first step, making that first move despite X, Y, and Z. And again, as the author has said multiple times, you resist the topics or the tasks that you need the most. And like I said, I didn't really feel super like relatable to the title of the chapter, but that reoccurring theme of just take the first step, just get up and do it, has been saving me this week for sure. Like, because I have not hit the ground running coming back from traveling the way I've wanted to, and that's all right. Like, I didn't expect myself to be Superwoman. I just expected myself to move at a kind of a more normal rate. But what I couldn't predict, could I predict it? No. I guess I couldn't predict that I would be PMSing during week 8 and very fatigued and very tired. And just like scientifically, biologically, being motivated and driven and all of that just was not in the cards for me this week, and that's okay. All right, that is all right. I do also want to share a little segment out of the week 8, and this section is under gain disguised as loss. Very, you know, snap your fingers, poetic, if you know situation. Okay. Pain that is not used profitably quickly solidifies into a leaden heart, which makes any action difficult. When faced with a loss, immediately take one small action to support your artist. Even if all you're doing is buying a bunch of tulips and a sketchbook, your action says, I acknowledge you and your pain. I promise you a future worth having. Like a small child, our artist needs mommying, or I would like to say nurturing, because mommying is a weird word to me. Our inner artist deserves nurturing through loss, pain, devastation, stress, all of that. Because those are real moments in life. Life is not all sunshine and rainbows. Every single human being knows this. I don't know why we are in such denial of that fact, and we feel so shocked and woe is me when bad things happen to us. Like, there's actually a line right here that I underlined that says, I learned when hit with loss to ask the right question, what's next, instead of why me? That really hit me because I have had such a hard year. I cannot stress that enough. Is it the hardest year that any human has ever lived? Absolutely not. Okay, like obviously, like with anybody, there are always people who have it worse. There are always people who are going through worse things. That's a fact, that's a reality. That does not mean that I did not have a hard year. For me. Okay, for me. I am not trying to compare myself to anyone else or have like oppression Olympics with anyone. Okay, just, we gotta cut that out. For me, in my adult life, this has been a very challenging year coming off of what was already a challenging year. I've kind of had two back-to-back kind of challenging years, and I have gotten through them. Like, we're at the end of the year now. Like, we have gotten through them. I feel very proud of myself. I feel very proud of my family. And you know, it just goes to show you that we have to take the bad in order to appreciate the good. These things, like, it feels so obvious when I say it out loud, but when you're in those moments, when you're standing in the rain, like, it don't feel that way, and I can understand that. But what I really need to work on is nurturing that artist, because what that passage taught me more than anything is that I have been neglecting, horribly neglecting, like, call CPS, okay? Horribly neglecting my inner artist. And it's kind of sad. I have to kind of laugh to keep from crying, because it's not that funny, because it's important to me. It's my identity. It's been my identity my entire life, which is why it is also so hard to come to terms with, like, feeling lost in that way. But yeah, I just have not been nurturing old girl, and she deserves that, okay? She really does. Throughout my morning pages this week and exploring these new feelings that are coming up, I pretty much came to the conclusion that I need a break from relying on my creativity as my main source of livelihood. And I have already been, like, re-drilling in myself this year that the way that I make money does not equate to who I am as a person. Like, that, like, those two things are separate. My identity as an artist and my job as an artist are two different things, and I can't allow them to blend together. Like, I can't allow myself to think that if I am not solely making money off of my art, I am not an artist. Like, that's not real. Even though it's been my reality for the last 6 years, I still identified as an artist before I was an artist full time. Even though being a full-time artist has been my dream forever and I've been living it, I do also have other dreams, and I have put those aside because I feel so wrapped up in this dream job slash identity of being a full-time artist. And that I think has kind of like skewed my perception of just like so much. And unpacking that this year and just through these last few weeks doing this program and really writing out all of my feelings all the time, yeah, it's been easier to be like, okay, I think I'm okay with like trying to find some part-time work in other fields of interest that I have where I can take the stress off of my creative self a little bit so that I can like recover better and feel less like, I don't know, strain every time I have to be creative. Like it feels like very pressured, and that's not fun. It's not fun, and it's certainly a privilege to like even be in the situation to be able to pick and choose what I want to do with my life and my job and my career, right? Like, and I have my husband to thank for that. I'm not in this life alone, and I'm really grateful to have him to lean on in moments where I'm not like as like super stable as I want to be with my work. But yeah, the reality of like just doing what you gotta do. And every chapter is not gonna look the same. And that's okay. That's okay. And I've been finding comfort in like hearing other people's stories and seeing other people's journeys and how, you know, there are side quests sometimes. There are moments of rest sometimes. Like it's not a linear experience. Life in general is not a linear experience. And I just have to remind myself of that a lot, okay? All right, I just had to count my rows because I have to increase soon. um, yeah, I'm definitely not mentally tapped back into the process 100% yet. Let's talk a little bit about some struggles that I'm dealing with when it comes to just like being completely enveloped in the artist's way. I am not making the visual art that I was hoping to be. I haven't really had an urge or desire to like pick up a paintbrush or a pen at all. But I have been very creative and expressive with culinary art and with fiber art in these last 2 weeks. So I do need to give myself grace for that. And just like on that topic in general, like I think that is another thing that I've been trying to unpack with my like creative identity is the fact that I am a creative person. Like I'm learning that about myself with every week of this challenge. Like in as a whole, under an umbrella, I live a very creative life. I am creative in a lot of ways, and I am so grateful for that. And I actually realized that I do nurture all of those parts of myself on a pretty regular basis, like even prior to like intentionally doing so, like with this book, I was already doing things like playing my guitar on a occasional basis. I do my own hair and come up with my own hair designs. That is a form of creativity. I knit and make my own clothes and accessories. I love to cook and bake. I do that pretty often, if not every single day. My house projects are a form of creativity. Like doing interior design and renovation has been a really exciting and fun new addition to my creative voice. All of those things are a form of creativity, and all of those things are things that I am very passionate about and do on a regular basis. Like I feed those parts of myself when I feel the desire to. And so the fact that I haven't been feeling the desire for like the visual arts as much, I guess it just feels weird, and it feels like kind of erases everything else that I do in my head. It's like if I'm not painting or drawing, I'm not being creative. And that's not true. Like that is a rhetoric I have had to fight in myself these last few weeks, and like being like, girl, that is not true. Like you are very creative, and you are creative in more than one way. You're multidimensional, and you need to own that. And so that is something that I am actively working on. Another struggle I've been kind of experiencing these last 2 weeks of getting back into it is morning pages. I did, I think, 5 out of 7 morning pages for week 7 and 8, purely out of, I'm gonna say it, laziness. I didn't feel like it. And it doesn't feel, I guess it also just doesn't feel so life or death anymore at this point. Like I think I had this like feeling of like urgency and needing the consistency of it during the first like handful of weeks, and now that I've been in it for 8 weeks, I'm just like, I get it. That's kind of how I feel. I'm like, I get it. Like I know. I definitely have better days when I do them, and so I'm very aware of that, and so I will continue to do them more days than not, if not every day. I don't want to always give in to that laziness in my head, but I'm giving myself grace because I also have like such limited daytime nowadays, right? Like with daylight savings or whatever. So when I get up, especially if I get up and it's already daylight, like girl, I'm ready to just do what I'm doing for the day, like, because I don't want to waste a second doing something I don't feel like doing, and I have limited daylight hours. So yeah, morning pages, but we're gonna keep up with them because they are really good and I do like them. Also, I mean, artist date, didn't do them. Didn't do them at all. I'm just gonna be real. Did not do them at all. Yeah, I had to think about it, at all. Week 7 or 8. So that goes to tell you, like, that when I say I'm not really tapped all the way back in yet, I'm not really tapped all the way back in yet. It's been slow getting back into a swing of things since I've been home. And yeah, we're gonna address that this upcoming week, and I'm going to intentionally make sure I get that artist date in moving forward. And also lastly, the daily affirmations, and just like checking in with those words on a regular basis. There are a list of like basic principles, and there's also like a couple tasks throughout the weeks that have you writing certain affirmations and prayers and things like that they ask that you like check back in on a regular basis, read through them again, really get them through your head. And I have not been the best at that, just being honest. Like that's not something I've been very good at, so I want to be more intentional, and I haven't been good at that like the whole time, I'm being real. So I think I want to be more intentional about doing that in these last few weeks. Essentially, I think I have a month left, because words are very powerful, and that type of practice is powerful. I am very aware of that, and I want to, give that a fair shot, because the mental game is the biggest part of it all, if we're being real. And that's in a lot of aspects of life. Like, it's all a mental game, and you're in a battle with yourself a lot of the time. So yeah, I want to tap back into like reading the daily affirmations and basic principles and all of that. My favorite task from week 7 and 8 was the writing task, where we had to visualize like where we wanted to be in the next 5 years. And what I love about these tasks, especially the ones that make you either think really hard about the future or think really hard about the past, is that she really, really makes you hone in on details. And as an illustrator, I'm all about the details, and just like being extremely detailed about what it is that I want, down to like numbers, time, all of that, is like really cathartic. It's like so reassuring. And it's not that like this is going to completely come true, right? Like I am predicting the future by any means. Like this could be nowhere near what ends up happening to me in the next 5 years. I could be completely off. But having a goal, having a dream is, I think, what kind of helps people like get up in the morning. Do you know what I mean? Like having something to like to work towards is important, I think. And so I really enjoyed that practice of just getting really detailed and dreaming and letting myself dream, letting myself visualize what it is that I really want. And I'm not going to share it with you guys because it's private. Okay? I don't need nobody's weird juju coming up into my dreams. But yeah, it just, they have you do it in steps, and like step by step you just unpack what it is that you want, and it just gets more detail and detail. And yeah, I love that type of exercise. Some other wins that I had this week, because I can't just focus on struggles. Some wins, right? I spoke previously about how I struggled with like the whole like eating aspect of it. Like I don't eat enough most days. I eat pretty all right, like health wise. Sometimes I just don't eat enough because I get to working and I hyperfixate and I just will skip meals, and I'm not very good at that. But with these last 2 weeks, I have been much better about making sure I'm eating enough and a lot and feeling really fulfilled, and that has given me a lot more energy naturally and focus, and so I've been pleased with that. I've also been resting a lot more, allowing myself to just go to bed when I feel tired, and really making use of morning hours, because I realize that is when I am most productive. And so if I'm going to rot or scroll or be brain dead, I really should focus on doing that in the evening and letting my mornings be like as productive as possible, because I know that that meter like dwindles as the day goes on, and I've been really good at like taking advantage of that. And lastly, I just want to pat myself on the back for getting started again. Like taking a month off of a challenge, not beating myself up about it, and hopping back into it with no guilt, okay? Get lots and lots of grace. And feeling okay, like again, letting go. Things do not have to be perfect. I was kind of complaining to, I don't remember who, I think it was my sister-in-law or something, about how I was annoyed that I wasn't able to keep up. I was initially annoyed that November had gotten away from me. Like I didn't get to post much on YouTube at all after having such a strong month in October, going into November and falling off the ball in that way because I just did not have the time to invest because life was lifing. I was so annoyed with that. I was like, oh, my consistency has fallen off. Like all of this hard work I've been putting in all year, it's gonna just go down the toilet if I don't get back on track and start like making more videos and getting back into the book, and I don't want to lose all that momentum. And yeah, I was like really annoyed and beating myself up about it at first because I really saw this going a different way and it just did not. And so yeah, I had just had to let that go and just pat myself on the back for getting back on and being like, okay, I'm now back at home, I'm back into my flow. Now let's tap back in and be fully present and finish this year off strong. In a gentle way. Strong but gentle. Because we only get the one life, and so I need to live at the same time, right? So yeah, that's where I am. That has been my last month and some change in life, and we are back in the swing of things. Okay, let me know if any of this has resonated with you all, if you can relate. I got like a couple messages on the last video, like Artist Way video, that some of you all are also reading the book and going through the journey, and that's pretty cool. So let me know how that is going. I'm probably way ahead of me now because I had to take my break, but I got a little chunk done of this Sophie scarf I'm working on. Life is lifing, y'all. We're all in this together. Be nice to yourself and just make sure you're showing up every day as best as you can. That's all we can do. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get to discussing things, and I will see you really soon with some more wintry vlogs, because 'tis the season. All right, I will see you in the next one. Bye.